things began to immediately turn into the greatest storm a child should ever have to endure. Shortly after that, at the age of 13, I became addicted to drugs. Hi, my name is Kimberly. I'm a 56-year-old lady who is originally from the East Coast. I was living in Virginia for the first 7 years of my life. I had been with my grandmother from the age of 3 weeks old, and she had become mama to me. At the age of 7, my grandmother told me she would give me the opportunity to go live with my mother. It was my choice. Because my other siblings were going, I decided that would be good to do. I still remember the day pulling away in that old station wagon and watching my grandmother stand at the back of the wagon with her face flooded with tears. And as a child, that broke my heart. Immediately upon getting to New York with my mother, things were horrible. I had a fear inside of me. I was unable to do much of anything. And me and my mother we could not become the relationship that needed to be. And eventually she got frustrated with me and put me in a basement. In that basement was a Bible and a lamp in my bed. And I stayed down there all the time and I read that Bible from cover to cover to cover to cover. So Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and Joseph became my childhood friends. I had endured so much molestation from my adult brother. I had been violated in every way and I lost my voice, even as a child. I'm sure if I would have just told my mother, I'm sure she would have done something about it. But I didn't have a voice to speak for myself. And so the abuse continued day after day after day. This God that I had been reading about, the one that parted the sea for Moses, I prayed to him. And I cried to him and asked him to let me out the basement. It was just that simple. It was a real child's prayer. And I remember the next morning, my mother came down. I saw when she was unlocking the door and she came in and she said, I'm going to let you out of this basement, but I don't know why. And that was the beginning of me knowing that this God that I had been reading about in this one book that I had was real. After the basement experience, she let me out the basement and she didn't put me back in that basement again. In fact, I was determined not to go back down into that basement. And she beat me one day. She beat me bloody. And when I went to school, the teacher saw it under my shirt, called DHS, and I was removed from the home. Being removed from the home, for whatever reason, the trauma, all the molestations, I found myself in a state psychiatric center. And when I really came to grips with what was going on, because I could do nothing else, there I sat as a young child in a straitjacket. And I endured 8 long months of restraints and needles and just the system trying to fix whatever was broken in me, and it was not working. When they finally released me from that place, they sent me to a group home, and 2 months after that, I left and just ran away and lived on the streets of New York. I found drugs, I found men, I found anything that would fill my void. But when I found cocaine is when things really went crazy for me. It was the one that I liked the most. And I got strung out beyond anything I can really speak about. I sold my body. I remember being pregnant and walking up and down the street and just selling my body for anything I could get to just get another fix. I was so desperate. The one thing that made me feel better, it healed that hole, or at least it felt like it filled that hole in my life, and it became such an obsession to me. I never I never could imagine living without it. And in order to support that, I went into a life of crime, robberies, armed robberies, and all sorts of criminal activity. I eventually ended up in prison time after time after time after time. But that last prison sentence was lengthy. It was 12 full calendar years. And when I got ready to be released, I didn't have anywhere to go. Actually, no one wanted to accept me. My history and my record had been so violent and so bad that many of the homes and transitional places were actually scared to accept me. Places that would accept anyone were telling me no. But I didn't realize that in that God had a plan. From the first day I called Hope is Alive, there was a lady program manager named Lindsay. She did my interview and she was just full of joy. Oh, great. Oh, yeah, that would be wonderful. And I said, but do you understand I have a record? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, obviously you're in prison and yeah, we can work this out. And then she asked me some series of questions of what I'd be willing to do. But every other door closed. I couldn't get another door to open. And finally, I surrendered to God. And I said, God, this is your will. This is your will. There's nowhere else to go. And not because there was just nowhere else to go. It was just becoming clear to me that God was going to put me here and he was going to get me through here and moving my life through here. I got here again. And it has been transforming. The current family I have remaining, I have 2 children, two girls and 2 boys, adult children, and 7 grandchildren. I had lost everything. My children were adopted out at the very small age, some of them at 3 months, some of them at 3 years. But I lost them all and had never seen them again. Never talked to them again. Their names were changed. I wasn't sure how to find them. When I went to prison, I had to reconnect with my daughter, my oldest daughter. And she wasn't really willing to let me back in her life because she didn't know if she could trust me with the relationship with the grandchildren because she felt as if I was always gonna just run out again. And so she just really was scant with me. She would allow me to call once every 2 or 3 months and we'd have a 5-minute call. I'd say, I love you, how are the kids, how are you? And really that was the extent of it. I knew that when I got out, I had to show them something different. When I got out, immediately they began to pressure me to come to Massachusetts. And I was not willing. I knew I was in the center of God's will here. But my thoughts were swirling because what do I do? Do I give up this family that I've already given up and not been there for my children? I talked to some of the girls in the house about my predicament. And I just told them, I voiced to them, I'm not willing to give this up right now. It will be totally out of the will of God. I didn't know how to handle it. I thought I would lose my children altogether. They were really putting the pressure on. But I stayed. And I said, God, if you'll fix it, I'm not going to move. I'm not going to move from one to the left, to the right. I'm just going to stay right here. Shortly after that, I talked to my daughter a couple weeks after that. And she said to me, she said, oh my God, you're sober. It's fine. You don't have to come. You don't have to come right now. Take care of yourself. Continue what you're doing. Oh my God, you're doing so great. And so that was the big kiss from God that I needed. I was like, oh God, I just surrendered. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. And so he did that for me. I don't have much family. relationships. And it was a big hole in my heart. But when I got here, I found sisterhood. The ladies here, we all are one big family. We laugh, we play, we just do everything together. We are a family. And it has as well filled a hole in my life that I never thought could be filled again. So I've got my sisterhood. I've got my relationship with God intact. I've got a relationship with my children that I'm building on. And it's great. It's a good relationship. I'm working toward getting my job, getting my license, getting my surgery for my hip. If there was anything authentic about anything that I'm saying here today, if I could translate any idea, I just want you to know my life has been changed. I get up in the morning and I'm happy. And I've never been one day without pain unrivaled in my soul. And it's gone. And I can't explain it enough. I can't explain it enough. And so that is my story. And I just hope it does impact somebody. I hope somebody realizes that Jesus uses this place. He set his seal upon it. He's moving in it and through it. He's the Lord of it. And he's doing a huge work with it.